Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below the video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Neil, Adam, Eli, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's go.
Good noon.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, Nathan. That is Dr. Laura Danley from NASA. I believe she is a educator in some observatory.
Her name's Dr. Laura. She did say at the beginning, I just forgot. So Dr. Laura what?
Danley?
Stanley. Dr. Laura Stanley.
No, Danley with a D.
Oh, Danley. Dr. Laura Danley's, who we've been covering in the pre-show, who's an astronomer from NASA, covering a flat Earth simulator, basically a pre-packaged straw man for them to argue against with a robotic voice, that she can pull apart some of the notions that are actually heliocentric in many of their origins, just with a pizza pie flat Earth slapped inside it. So, I don't know if you want to, do you guys want to carry on doing this, or should we do a bit of housekeeping? It's up to you guys. I'm a bit ill today, so I'll be led by you guys. I'm already knackered, if I'm honest.
Housekeeping, and then we get back to the video. That'd be cool.
Sure. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Negative.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Angular size.
You need an R value to figure that out.
Hold on.
How would you get the distance to the
Hold
sun,
on. I had
Nathan?
angular size. Don't ask me how I'd get it. I'm not claiming to know it or need it. It's not part of my orbital assumption. I don't have an orbital assumption to need to claim the distance to the sun as 1 AU, based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and a scaling value, with Venus being the R value of Earth. I don't need any of that shit. So why would I need to claim how big or distant the sun is? With angular size, did you say, Brian? How does a apparent size help you?
Well, if I presume it has an angular size, then it has an actual size, and I can set it at a distance based on whatever size I need to set it at. So if I set it at whatever 100 miles wide, I can then set it to match the angular size that we see, and that will give me a distance to it. Once I set the angular size, it'll give me a distance to match the size I'm claiming. So I can claim any size to the sun as long as I make it match the angular size. That will then give me the distance,
No. Give you the distance, my ass. What you're saying is, if I assume that the angular size is representative of a 100-mile wide sun, I can then essentially do the same as Christian Huygens did with the scaling value of Venus at the same value as R. You're saying you can do the same thing, you just have to assume how big it is, and then scale everything from it. Is that what you're trying to say? Then you can give me the distance.
Yeah, because that's what they did. So, yeah, I can do all that.
Well, wow, that's so wonderful. And useless. And exactly the same as the heliocentrists do.
Yeah, well, it seems to be okay for them to do it. They
There's just
seem
one
to have
small
gotten away
problem.
with it with a long time.
Well, no, there's just one small problem. Do you want to know what the problem is? If you're doing triangulation, no, let's rephrase that. If two people are doing triangulation coincidentally at different distances to that light, the sun in this instance, then there's a very real possibility that if you're triangulating and claiming distances to it, the hypotenuse becomes the actual length to the star that they claim it is the sun. then surely somebody who's looking at it from a different position would have it with a different length hypotenuse, because technically speaking, they're going to see it higher or lower in the sky. Wouldn't that throw off the size that you scaled it with?
Well, now if you presume that the Earth is not flat and you take all common sense out of the equation.
No, I'm saying even if you did, if as a flat earther, forget about globe for a minute. I don't see any way of squaring the circle of the behaviour of the sun in terms of how we measure it, right? So I'll just expand on what I mean. If I take an angular size here on the ground and then take the almanac and draw out a GP and say, okay, I'm somewhere on that circle, right? Well, somebody else can do the same thing miles and miles and miles away with it on the horizon. Yeah? Even if it's a tiny little speck. But both of those two measurements would put it, one would suggest that it's almost touching the ground. Do you see what I mean?
Well, it can be a relative distance, your own personal experience of its distance, according to your bullshit angle.
Yeah, but taking that example one step further, if the guy that's got the sun, let's say it's, I don't know, 1 degree above the horizon. Well, let's make it a bit more. Let's make it 10 or 15, just so nobody comes in and goes, oh, what about refraction? Okay, we'll put it at 15 degrees above the horizon. Okay? Well, the guy who's measuring that can have a plane, or let's say a hot air balloon, so it's like almost perfectly above his position. It's at his zenith, right? So if he looks directly up or lies on his back on the ground, he can see the hot air balloon above him, yeah? Well, that hot air balloon, holding an angle measuring device, could and would get the exact same angle to the sun as he would.
Well, yeah, but if you take all that away and you use the angles as it goes away from you, and then you ignore that you used angles, you can just pre-assume that the Earth is a sphere, and that the sphere is moving and the sun is millions of miles away. It's another option.
It's an option. It involves quite a few assumptions, though, so we're not going to do that.
No.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based varieties? You brought it up. Yeah, this chick saying poles.
Maybe the non-deviation of airplanes.
How is the non-deviation of aeroplanes proof of Earth turning?
Well, maybe they're being carried along by the Earth because they're conserving one of the momentums, and yeah.
So what you're saying is, if I can see no effect and assume that the non-effect is caused by Earth inducing a non-effect, then you could assume that the non-effect is a result of Earth spinning, kind of thing. That's a lot to swallow.
Yeah, I mean that logic is pretty sound if you're willing to not use logic. Yeah.
Sure, but the globe.
There's another train of thinking you could also follow when you go that way, and then say just no, things do spin, but it's like higher up. It's just down at the Earth level. It's like, yeah, it's kind of conserving momentum, but really when you go higher up, that's when things really do start to deviate, because it's further away to the Earth, not dragging it. It's spin.
Well, yeah, no, there's a claimed 15 degrees an hour deflection called Coriolis effect. Shout out to Michael Kahn. He says, get well soon, boss. Thank you very much.
Well, if you imagine, the way you hook up a trailer to your car, well, think of it that way.
We wouldn't see any effect if we were on the trailer.
No, as you drive, the trailer goes with you. Think about the plane being like that with the the Earth.
Compare it to a sailing boat, right? I mean, you have a sailing boat, it has a sail, the sail pushes it forward because of the wind. Well, where is the sail? It's as high up as they can get it, right? Why? Well, because higher up, well, the wind does actually deviate more because of Coriolis. Well, down much closer to the sea level itself, there's just less of it. So
Okay,
that's
let's
why
just
they
address
have
that.
sails so high up to catch the Coriolis wind.
Okay, there is no catching a Coriolis, right? Because Coriolis effect is a not actual deflection. It's an illusion. There's no force involved with Coriolis. So to say, oh, well, there's more Coriolis force high up, or, you know, the deflection's going to be greater. No, there is no deflection. Coriolis effect is merely you observing something that's going to have absolutely no curve whatsoever, seeming to curve because you're turning beneath it. So the prerequisite requirements to have the effect the globe Earth claims, that's Coriolis, is Earth turning beneath stuff at a rate of 15 degrees an hour. It's as simple as that, because that's what Coriolis is. As a result of Earth turning beneath, I don't know, a helicopter, the claim is that you'll see the helicopter drift away at 15 degrees an hour, even though it's hovering, because you're turning beneath it. So it's not really moving at all, it just looks like it because you turn beneath. That's the claim. It's claimed the globe is claimed to have Coriolis. In reality, that's why Brian started off this farcical discussion, we don't see any of those effects. So what we get from anti-flat earthers is apologetics for why we don't see the effects that would be induced by Coriolis if we had it. We don't. Nothing's seeming to drift.
It's not high up enough. It's not high up enough. Just
to see an
you have
illusion.
to go a little higher, like satellites. They
Doesn't work like
definitely
that.
show Coriolis
Doesn't matter
deviation.
how high you are, it's an illusion induced from you turning beneath. No matter if you're higher or lower, or how fast you spin. It's just something like a tree over the top of a roundabout. The branches dangling over the tree. And it's calm. There's no wind. The tree's stationary. Well, let's make it a lamppost. Yeah, lamppost like dangles over the road like on an arm. But in this case, it's over the top of a roundabout. So while the roundabout's stationary, you look up, and the roundabout and light are both fixed, stationary, not moving. And the light, the lamppost, which is cemented into the ground, it's definitely not going to be moving in this example. And as you look up, not moving on the roundabout, the light is stationary. Then someone comes along and turns you on the roundabout, and you go, oh, the light's going away, and it's coming back. Oh, it's going away, and it's coming back. Yeah, that's Coriolis effect. It looks like the light's leaving your vision and then coming back into view. That's Coriolis. And not actual deflection induced by you turning beneath. So to say, well, if I go higher, we'll get more of the lamppost moving at a high rate. It's an illusion. So no, there's no force involved, there's no wind involved, there's no going higher. It's an illusion.
You're overlooking drag from the Earth's surface.
Drag.
There's no drag in the illusion. The lamppost isn't moving. Let's move on. Any evidence of the R value?
No.
Yeah.
No, you're overlooking drag, right? Coriolis deviation. Well, things would move because the Earth is turning underneath if the Earth wouldn't be scooping whole parts of that air with it. It's called drag.
Well, then there's no drift. Okay, fine. Then the Coriolis effect claim of Earth fails. They claim there is Coriolis effect, not there is Earth turning, but you're not going to notice because the dragged Earth doesn't induce any effect. All of it's being dragged along and whipped along with it, because then you don't have 15 degrees an hour Coriolis drift, as they claim. So therefore, the claim fails.
It doesn't drag everything, just everything close, right? So that you could see it and all that. But up there, yeah, they do deviate, especially satellites, because they're so far away. Nothing is dragging them.
Explain with my lamppost example. So the lamppost, if you go higher, does actually move.
Yeah.
No, it's cemented into the ground, Darwin. The only reason you get a seeming to be moving lamppost is because you're on a roundabout turning beneath. That's Coriolis. Likewise, the only reason you see things seeming to do anything, when they're not really, is because Earth's claim to turn underneath as a second reference frame, creating an illusion of things drifting because you're turning beneath them.
But do you still remember that example that I gave, what is it now, half a year ago or something, about a roundabout where there would be walls on the roundabout that would compartmentalize the air in between it? Then you could launch a drone in there. It would be kept in moving in lockstep with the rotating platform because the air is not able to freely move in between it. So it's not going to be separated in its reference frame until it ascends outside of the walls.
That's fascinating.
That are dragging
That's
the
fascinating.
air with it.
It's just not Coriolis. They claim 2 reference frames on a globe Earth, Earth turning beneath as 1 reference frame. 2 reference frames total, inertial and non-inertial. Earth being the non-inertial turning reference frame they claim induces the drift that is an illusion called Coriolis. Your apologetics as Baldwin to try and explain how we've only got 1 reference frame, but it's still a non-inertial turning reference frame, there's just not a second one to induce the 15 degrees an hour claim Coriolis, is absurd because you're trying to get it to be 1 reference frame when the claim is 2.
No, you're strawmanning me because there is definitely
I'm ill. I don't want to do this. I just want to move on. I'm tired.
All right. Can I say something real quick?
The show's just starting.
Can we get?
Well, I'm ill.
Can we get professional working titles like Dr. Nathan Oakley? I want to be a doctor or professor.
Well, I'm not accredited as a doctor. No, that would make me a charlatan.
Well, you didn't go.
No, I'm not a charlatan. I'm not a con man. I don't want to be a scribe doctor or professor like some bullshitting anti-flat earther. No, thank you. I don't need any accreditation either. It doesn't help me. What if I was a doctor? Who cares?
1980.
But who cares? If I say gas fill space, does it matter if Simon says gas fill space? Or does gas just fill space? Does it matter if Dr. Nathan says gas fill space? Or does the gas just fill space? What does it matter? Who cares? You don't need to bullshit your audience with fake titles like Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel. That's not necessary if you've got the truth on your side. It should be easy to understand, easy to digest, easy to explain, and true. You don't need any dramatic music or strap taglines before your name to make the audience think that you've got consensus behind you when you bullshit them. If you've got the truth behind you, I don't need any support in that. Same goes for citing the stuff that we debate about. I'm bloody lazy, especially today, and I never go to citations for anything. I can't be bothered. Because generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, if you ignore the indoctrinated fundies you're discussing it with, the truth for the most part is pretty obvious. Yeah, earlier on in the pre-show, we responding to this, whatever her name is, I keep forgetting because I'm not 100%. But whoever this chick is, yeah?
Dr. Lauren Danley.
Her. She's explaining how outrageous it is to be using words that are scientific when the Flat Earth Strawman Simulator has described theories. Bearing in mind, this chick has literally hijacked the words of science earlier on in her discussions. Now, she's only needing to prop up and bullshit with scientific vernacular that she doesn't have any justification in using because she doesn't have the truth on her side. Why is she this, I don't know, how many million, bazillion views, 1.3 million views. Why has she got them? Well, because consensus says we should trust this NASA lady. As she bullshits away about her pseudoscience and hijacks the vernacular of science. Yeah, but consensus says NASA. She might as well have a white coat on, right? She's an astronomer. Whoopee bloody do. Don't need to be called doctor. We don't need to bullshit they do.
Let's get back to the video.
We're still in housekeeping. We're just going to transition. I don't care. Let's just do it.
So all of that money didn't go to building rockets. It went to paying off people. That's a...
Now, who said it was being given to pay off people? It's being given to pay you. You are that shill, Dumbo. Yeah, we'll talk about being a useful idiot.
real accusation.
In the 1950s.
I'm accusing you. You are that shill. Yeah, when I gave comparisons of how we'd need for Anthony to accept that Jaron Campanella's a J-trig, I'd need to show that he was being paid by some government-affiliated agency. Like this chick is. She is a globe shill. She is being paid to disseminate this magic trick to you. She is being paid, whether she knows it or not, to lie about how credible her stuff is with words like theory. You know, oh, who would be paying off? You! You dumbo.
During the Cold War, the two opposing blocs of the totalitarian USSR and the free world under the leadership of the United States started the competition of the supposed space race.
Supposed space race. Yeah, I'd agree with that statement. That's a true account of history as far as we have been presented it. The supposed space race. Because there is no space race, there is no space. There's no volume, because gas would all fill it. So that was a pretty true statement, even though it's come from this shill machine. Strawman simulator.
Okay,
Why
space
space
race.
and its supposed conquest was so important was explained by Senate Majority Leader and later President Lyndon B. Johnson.
Well, they're going to shill for the globe also.
Quote, "Control of space means control of the world."
That was
Control of space means control of the minds of the masses. That's all it means, because it's not a real place. Control of Narnia means control of the future. It's a meaningless nonsense. There is no space. There's no outer space. Outer space, the sky vacuum, is fake. Second law of thermodynamics violation.
part of the Cold War and the space race for sure.
The Soviets, meanwhile, resorted to their first hoax.
Because NASA woman says so. Because you say so, love.
With a supposed Sputnik satellite. This was
Definitely not. Let's just debunk that. No, claimed to be sent to a sky vacuum. Sent in a presupposed orbital motion around a spherical surface that we've debunked. There is no spherical surface. It's flat. It's measured flat, navigated flat, built on flat. So there's no curve to orbit around. Furthermore, if it can go out, Sputnik, beyond the gas pressure we're all enjoying, then so can the gas pressure. That's what gas does. Expands in all directions. It's not sphere-shaped, love. I realise you're a bit of a bimbo and didn't realise that you were punting some shillery when you said an oxymoron atmosphere. That would be sphere-shaped atmo. Atmo being air. Air doesn't shape the shape of a sphere, love. So, definitely not. Sputnik, no, it'd have to go out into the violation of natural law you think is space. Definitely didn't do that.
Was in reality just a radio transmission that was broadcasted by a high-altitude aircraft, as previously uncovered documents at the end of the USSR in 1990 show.
My
Who cares? None of this is relevant. We debunked space.
parents saw it, so I guess maybe they're part of
They saw what? Sputnik? Did they see a sky vacuum? What, from the ground? Did they just look up and believe the begging the question assumption of a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum when they saw some tin can get sent up into the sky?
the conspiracy too. You can see it at night.
See what? A sky vacuum? A second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum, an empty space that the high pressure gas we're breathing would fill. If I could see that, I'd be dead. Because the gas I'm breathing at high pressure would have filled it. So your folks, as much as you want to appeal to this authority of your parents seeing a sky vacuum, no, they definitely didn't see a sky vacuum. That would violate natural law, love. I don't know what they've been telling you, but you're obviously stupid and will believe anything if you believe that your parents could see outer space a 10 to the minus 17 Tor sky vacuum when they looked up at the black bit you look at with your telescope.
Go over, and you could then see it come back 90 minutes later. So people tracked it. No airplane even today can fly that fast.
Oh, right. Stars do that every bloody night. But they're definitely not falling around a spherical surface. We've debunked it. It's measured, built on, and navigated flat. And all the models that assume a spherical surface have been derived from those flat measurements. So if the assumption of a sphere Earth in the first principle has come from flat Earth measurements, Earth cannot be a sphere to be orbiting. The fact that you see a light with a pattern, what, like the stars? Whoopee-doo. Definitely not proving a sphere.
There is no flat Earth conspiracy, but a fake space flight cabal that uses the illusion of space travel to make trillions worldwide.
Well, it's not that they make trillions, they've got trillions. It's all taxpayer money. They don't have to make it in any way. They just handed it and they spend it in whatever way they choose to lie about the sky being a vacuum. And lie about sending men to a light in the sky vacuum via a sky vacuum, with the gas waving goodbye to rockets as it manages to stay here. Not with a force of a bending pseudo-Riemannian force space-time. God, I can't even say it with a cold. Pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending. That's definitely not something that's going to hold gas at pressure. It's just a pseudo-geometry invented by a man named Einstein that has an extra dimension we don't experience called time. A concept. Concepts don't hold gas at pressure. Containers do that. And air doesn't arbitrarily take sphere shapes. Advert. Non-skippable. Right, any comments? 20-second non-skippable ad. Yes, Nathan, we're all really enjoying it so far. That's
My
good to know.
cat says hi.
I think you're being a little hard on the girl.
It has a diameter of 32 miles.
Hard on her. She's suggesting, by way of straw man, that I say all of the money goes on bribing officials. Well, I'm correcting her and going, no, love, you got paid to shill this shit. You got the money. You are that, by comparison, straw man official. You might not be an official other than what you say going about the lights that you name. But you're that shit. You're the one getting a chunk of that cash to bullshit the world while you sit there all smug. Is that too harsh, Neil? What's wrong with that?
I wouldn't shout too much, Nathan, because your throat will go next, mate, and get some lamb sips down your pal.
That's just my normal volume.
Miles and is located approximately 3,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. The moon is thought to be spherical.
Okay, the moon is...
In the heliocentric model, who knows what the moon is here? Or the sun? Beyond libration, who can infer spherical moon?
Are they saying that we think the moon
Yes,
is clear?
yes, they are.
Well, when did we claim that?
That's why I'm doing the round robin right now.
Yeah. If anything, we claim that it doesn't behave like a sphere. If it's reflecting sunlight, it's not behaving like a sphere in terms of hotspots. If we look at libration, it's not really behaving like a sphere. The only way to make it be a sphere, particularly with the peculiarities of its single face, is to give it this magical rotation. So it's always facing Earth. That's the only way you can keep it a sphere. Other than that, it's a circle. And like I said, libration is the thing that their own description that for me kind of disproves it. Along fundamentally, as QE's favourite is, just if that's a sphere, it's not reflecting light like a sphere, is it?
It definitely doesn't work in their heliocentric nonsense because of specular reflections, right? QE's got a whole presentation on that. But it's definitely
that's sufficient for us to say, hold up, that you can't make that claim. But it's being foisted upon us, isn't it? Here again.
It'd be a different story if they said it was its own self-emanating light and spherical. You could make an argument for that, but that isn't what they're saying. So they're saying it's reflecting the light of the sun. No, it isn't. We can disprove that. So the whole model and concept of how it's lit fails. So therefore it's like, well, what are you going to do? Adjust the model so that the moon's not being lit by the sun when it's a bloody rock created from the debris of Theia? No, you can't just fundamentally alter your model in that way when it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But the whole model's come from a flat Earth to begin with, so who cares?
The moon is spherical, but the Earth is not.
It moves from 3,000 miles to...
So what, you're pointing out the absurdity of the straw man? These flat earthers are saying that the moon is spherical, but the Earth... No, we're not saying that. This simulator is saying that, and it was made by some tosser at NASA. One of the people who was paid, like you're being paid. Yeah? That's who came up with this shit. The narration was also someone paid to narrate this shit for you to take it apart. Do you see where all the money's going? And none of it's going to bribe the government officials. You're getting it, and the guy narrating's getting it, and the guy making this stupid shitty simulator's getting it, and the guy who's doing the YouTube channel for NASA is getting the money. That's where the money's going. On you!
2,000 miles over the duration of a month.
That's crazy, because if I were 300 feet away...
Nobody's claiming this. He's just taken apart a straw man that's been put together by someone paid by NASA for you to argue against. It's absolutely pathetic.
...from you, and then I was 200 feet away from you, I would look larger. And we would actually see it grow and shrink.
In 19...
Really? So the not actual size of the sun would change, would it?
1969, the moon was the setting of a fictional worldwide television broadcast in which the United States of America claimed to have landed on the moon. The hoax was discovered by independent researchers.
No, it was exposed by the second law of thermodynamics. If men can travel from our gas pressure through the gas pressure, which at some point arbitrarily stops expanding into the vacuum that you're about to travel into with your rocket to get to the moon, that would be a violation of natural law, because gas, which is expanding in all directions, doesn't suddenly stop expanding into a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum that you can traverse to get to the moon. So that's what violates it and debunks it. The crap that this guy who was paid by NASA, because this is what NASA are paying for, right? Real NASA astronomer. So this is where the money's going, love. Are you too blonde and dumb to realise when you got the paycheck for this?
But many of them have since been silenced by NASA agents or pressured into publicly stating that they were wrong.
Okay, I worked for NASA for 10 years.
So you're getting all the money and being paid to shill it right now then, love? Yeah, we know.
I can tell you no one has ever pressured anybody to...
What, you got paid? You have been paid to do this, love? Pressured? They gave you coins. Did you do this for free? Obviously not.
Lie about something as fundamental as that.
No, they've got useful idiots. You don't need to lie. You're too dumb. You don't understand that there's a law of nature that violates every word that you've said in regards to the sky vacuum that's superimposed from the heliocentric model. You're too stupid to realise that this flat Earth you're taking apart is based in the heliocentric world of sky vacuums. So no, they don't need to lie. They've got you to do it for them for cash. That money you thought was going on government officials that you took apart as a straw man, that's going on you, Dumbo. You're getting that cash, aren't you, love?
I do remember when, during the Bush administration, we had to remove the words Big Bang out of press releases coming from Hubble. That was a different thing. A lot of people...
So you're admitting that you're led as a NASA government agency by the president to propagandise the information that you put out? Why? Why would you be removing Big Bang from anything ever if it was true? It wouldn't be as simple as, oh, we're not going to say that anymore. But that's because you can shill and lie about the world, can't you, love? Based on a memo. You'll just say anything. Oh, well, I'm not going to say Big Bang anymore because I've had a memo. Well, if it was reality, love, it wouldn't matter what the memo said, would it? But that's why they pay you.
People gave their lives.
It's direct
their
double
lives.
speak, wasn't it? Well, I don't ever remember being pressured. Do you remember a time where I wasn't pressured? We were just told we're not allowed to use the term Big Bang. Well, that's worse than pressure. That's not trying to coerce you. It's just fundamentally saying you're not allowed to do that.
Lives making this dream come true for the United States on behalf of all humankind. So it's...
So, they don't represent me, no offence to my American compadres. On behalf of all mankind, they didn't go to a sky vacuum for me. No. Why is it that I hear parallels with Jesus Christ? Why is it that I hear that? So the American government has what, sacrificed for all mankind, has it? Like Christ? Is that what that's what I hear? I'm not professing to be some devout Christian. I'm just saying that's what I hear as a parallel.
No, just the other bit that triggered me was with America as the leader of the free world.
Yeah, love.
Such a deep insult to say that everyone is part of a fake, false space program.
Yeah. Is that your response to sigh? Me, love, I don't sigh when put in a position that I have to actually defend some of the claims I make. It's not just a sigh, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum to refute your shite. But what a smile is what you've got. That's wonderful, love. Well worth the money that you're being paid.
The sun is a revolving sphere. It has
Says who? This is supposed to be a flat Earth simulation. Who says that? I ask for the distance to the sun as a shorthand way of saying I don't know what the sun is, and neither do you. But this simulation that's been made and paid for by NASA for you to respond to says that the Earth's got a spinning ball sun. Why? Well, that's the heliocentric model claim, isn't it? Why is this in a flat Earth simulator when we don't know what it is? We haven't made this. Oh yeah, it was paid for by NASA, wasn't it? Someone got a memo and a paycheck to make this and narrate it.
Oh, it's also only 32 miles across.
And is located approximately
and it is also
3,000
3,000
miles above
miles
the
from
surface
us.
of the
Okay,
Earth.
is it hot? Do they have a temperature?
The sun's area of light is similar to the spotlight of a
it's like
searchlight.
Searchlight.
This means that
No one's claiming this. No one here is claiming this. I mean, if you're a wanker and you're a flat earther and you're claiming this, there's no helping you, and we wouldn't say that you're representative of us either. In fact, we stand quite in violation of that and contradict other flat earthers if they do say that, because they've gobbled it down from people like this and simulations like this that have been handed to them, developed by and narrated by and commented on and responded to, all from the same paying entity.
only certain portions of the Earth are illuminated at a time.
But as it moves around, I mean, it would look like a circle overhead, but
Nobody's saying this. We don't need to make this claim. The only reason she's attacking it as a straw man is because they make this claim in the heliocentric model. So she's attacking it like we make the claim so she doesn't have to defend it. Again, too blonde, too stupid to realise how they're using you to shill their nonsense. You're attacking a flat earth straw man because your globe model makes this claim, not because we do. You have got a sun at a certain distance that's a ball in your heliocentric model. So what, attack us for a claim we don't make because you've got a stupid claim that you should be defending because it's extraordinary? Oh, much better just make up a straw man and get them to defend the nonsense they haven't claimed. By way of a bimbo will pay, who's too dumb to realise what's going on.
But as it moved over there, it would start to look like an oval. I mean, you can...
Would it? What, if you burnt it as a straw man? That's not what I observe in the moon. Certainly doesn't mean it's orbiting over a spherical Earth, because if it was, we wouldn't be measuring it flat.
Frankly, take a plate and change how it looks.
The apparent view of rising and setting are caused by perspective.
We don't know that. We don't know what the sun is. So I don't make that assertion. If you're making it as a flat earther, tell me what the sun is.
Just as a flock of birds overhead will descend into the horizon.
A flock of birds isn't the sun. I'm not making this claim. But while they're describing the birds going into the horizon, that's not accountable in Earth curve maths. The reason they're attacking the perspective claim in an Earth curve, redundant, straw man, flat Earth model that's been derived from the celestial sphere is so they don't have to defend their lack of perspective in their Earth curve maths. Earth curve maths has hijacked the effect of perspective, removed it from the maths and called it Earth curve. That's all it is. So what, should we defend our claim that we say there's a edge for boats to fall over called Earth curve in the heliocentric mathematics? Yeah, that's right, fundies, if you're a globe believer. Your boats fall over an edge. So rather than defend your extraordinary and now debunked in 2020 claim that boats fall over an edge, physical and geometric in nature, so you can measure how many feet and inches when excluding perspective, because feet and inches don't change with distance. A 30-foot boat is a 30-foot boat at 3 million miles. But of course, unless you've got Earth curve blocking your view of it, it's going to be there, even though it's minuscule. Too small to see with perspective. But that's not in Earth curve maths. It's done in a Muppet vision that excludes perspective and with numbers that are always kept the same. 100-foot building's always 100 foot in Earth curve maths. Even though in reality, things get smaller. It's called apparent size, angular size. Something the maths of Earth curve, when hijacking perspective, doesn't have. So much more effective to pay some NASA bimbo to attack our claim that the sun is having an effective perspective, so we've got to suddenly defend this shit that we haven't claimed when we don't use the sun to claim a damn thing in this regard. Well, why is that? Well, so you don't have to claim your lack of perspective in your Earth curve maths, get us on the back foot for our claim of it, and defend how it isn't perspective. So you can hold up a maths that doesn't even include it, as a substitution after we've defended this nonsense that we don't claim.
As they fly into the distance.
Still doesn't explain why we see the sun drop below the horizon. We don't.
No, it doesn't drop below the horizon. See, if it was dropping below the horizon, that would infer that there was an 8 inches per mile squared drop with a physical geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in the Earth curve mathematics, to obscure the sun to go down behind. We've debunked that. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, as you assert, as you shill and be paid by NASA to shill it, then every distance to horizon measurement for your Earth to block the sun could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in your perspective hijacking maths. And the black swan shows the distance to horizon beyond the limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. The horizon is not Earth curve and won't be having any suns go behind it. So no.
We don't just watch the sun get smaller, smaller, smaller. In fact, quite the opposite. At sunset, gets, again, because of the atmosphere kind of smushed out.
Because of the what? The atmo what now, love? Yeah, they don't need people to lie. They've got a bimbo like you to assert that air takes the shape of a sphere. Have you ever seen non-contained air in a sphere shape? No. Air doesn't behave that way. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume. You'll use hairspray, love. You ever seen hairspray, an aerosol, taking the shape of a sphere without the tin around the gas? No? What about a tyre? You ever seen a tyre? Do you think you can go into a garage and ask them to put atmosphere, sphere-shaped air around the rim of a wheel? Forget the expensive tyre. I don't need a container to achieve gas pressure. Atmosphere. It arbitrarily takes a sphere shape. Does high-pressure gas? No, love. Now, again, you notice how you don't need to pay off officials to get bimbos to blurt out oxymorons like atmosphere, love. Air isn't sphere-shaped, love. Yeah? Don't need anybody to lie, just need dumbos to punt rhetoric because they got a memo.
Out, and when it disappears, it gets dark.
Together with the moon, the sun rotates around a mysterious central point of rotation.
So what is that
Does it? Says who?
point and why? I mean, what is there a physical model or is there...
Physical model? That's a reification fallacy. Physical model. No, physical would be physics. The study of the physical and natural world. That's science. Models, when asserted as being physical, are pseudoscience. It's a reification fallacy. The map is not the terrain, love. I mean, like I say, you don't need to pay off government officials when you've got bimbos to punt reification fallacies under their misapprehensions and dizzy notions that models are the world. They're not. You're just attacking the straw man that was commissioned and paid for and narrated by the people who are paying all of these parties, you being one of them, to shill this shit.
Are there laws of physics to explain?
Laws of physics? What, like the second law of thermodynamics? Oh dear, love. That was probably the worst possible thing you could say. Laws of the physical? What, like laws of nature? Oh, right, like the first law of thermodynamics, like energy can't be created or destroyed. Energy and matter. Like completely violating your entire worldview that all of the matter and energy of the world came out of nothing. That's a law of physics, as you described it. A law of nature. It's called the first law of thermodynamics. What about the second law of thermodynamics? That's entropy law. About gas filling spaces, entropic increases, dispersion. That's a law of physics. Were you unaware of that? Oh, of course, because you've got an oxymoron sphere-shaped air that's not in any way sitting in line with laws of physics. Right, love? You don't know anything about laws of physics because you'd appreciate that most of what you said defied the second law.
Yes.
Final thoughts. She's a Dumbo. She's a paid shill by NASA, too thick to realise what a useful idiot she is, while she deludes herself with ideas of having to pay off government officials as she counts her little coins that NASA literally pay her to shill this shit. She's never been to space, she can't, it's a violation of natural law, but she's more than happy to punt it if a memo says that that's what the world is. But she doesn't have to be forced or coerced in any way. Just needs to send her an email and a paycheck.
I guess it's kind of fun because the graphics are cool and you can shift things around and...
Well, they're cool because NASA made them that way. So you could react to them. So it's cool that someone was paid a significant amount of money to build this straw man for me to burn. That's pretty cool. How much did this cost?
Nathan.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry, just with that. This is just another one of these videos where someone in authority says, I can understand why people would make the mistake. So they're not claiming that we're totally stupid, but they would say, I can understand why someone would make the mistake that the earth is flat. So they're taking away that you're stupid, but then they say, but with a bit of research, you would find out that it's not. In other words, we're not stupid, but we're not smart enough to actually do the research. So because they can't call us totally stupid because the earth presents itself as stationary and horizontal. That's how it presents itself. So they can't call you stupid. But what they will do is make you out to be somebody who just didn't do enough research or are listening to the wrong people, like Danny Faulkner, with his rubbish. I can answer any question. It's just all these questions, people are getting the answers from the wrong people. This rubbish. Then when he's asked the question about the gas pressure, he has no answer. Do you know what I mean? None of these people ever address one of us. They only ever address the straw man arguments, but then they can't call you stupid, but they can say you're stupid enough, or naive enough to be led. That's all. It's just another one of those videos.
Fine by me. We've put the shoe on the other foot in the last, 6 months. Now we're doing it to them. So I'm more than content to, she's not got enough to go on to call us stupid when she's reacting to a sponsored video and model that's been commissioned by the people who are paying her to shill this shit. I will call her stupid. You're stupid, love. I'll give you the reason why I'm calling you stupid too. Because you just described laws of physics. And if you had a slightest clue about laws of nature, you'd know what entropic law was. Taught in universities. I've got plenty of clips of university professors disseminating this information to people far more intelligent than you. Now, if you would have paid attention to the laws of physics, aka laws of nature, sometimes called laws of science to grease the skids of people who want to use descriptions and claim the magic trick of science, she didn't do that. But what she did do was be incredibly ignorant about the laws of nature that she cited, she mentioned. Didn't you, love? So I will call her thick. I'll call her a, quote, useful idiot. So you've been paid to punt this shit because you're too dumb to understand it. Too dumb to understand when you quote laws of physics that you're violating them with your sky vacuum. And your sun, which is what, gas? Not expanding into the vacuum also. Your entire model's a sham. But you're thick. You're just too stupid to realise, so you've been handpicked and screened based on how thick you are, how malleable you are, how likely you are to parrot off a memo. Or not parrot off your rhetoric that you've been taught because a memo tells you not to. You were handpicked for your ignorance and stupidity level. That's why you're doing this. Don't want people too bright to realise that they're being used to punt the lies and nonsense of heliocentric religions. You want proper thickos that won't ever realise how dumb they are. So thick and Dunning-Kruger that they'll cite the very laws of nature that are debunking them. That's the kind of retard you really need at NASA. This girl. That's what you need. Proper idiots. See how easy that was, Brian? Really easy to call them dumb. Because they are. Thick. She's thick. And I'm happy to call it her.
She at least presents herself that way, Nathan. Yeah, isn't it? She at least presents herself that way. Whether she's totally thick or not, she presents herself that way.
Serious self thinks that's not fun at all because it has a real downside in that it makes people believe that anything could be true. Not to
What, like NASA believe that you could go to the moon, a light in the sky, or go to Mars, a light in the sky, or that the sky is a vast, ever-expanding vacuum area of volume for gas to fill. That sort of shite. Yet people who are dumb, like you, love, they will believe any old shite that they get a memo about. And they'll even cite the very laws that debunk them without researching them, like you did. Yeah, people are dumb enough to do that, love. You are that example, though, not me. Not this straw man that a colleague put together for you either. Go ahead.
Sorry for stepping on you, Nathan. Oh, well, she has a point there. There is certain people in the flat earth community who do believe anything is possible. You know, like free energy, ether, you know, not being able to do anything with an angle. These people are out there.
Yeah, and obviously we, in the same way, I get comments recently, why does it seem that Nathan's against all the flat earthers, was a extremist comment that I got. I'm like, no, we don't do anything different regardless of who comes through the front door here. Talk shit, expect pain. Talk nonsense, expect us to pull it apart based on its nonsense. It doesn't matter if you're a flat earther in denial, like Bev, or a globe believer like Extremistus himself. It doesn't matter if you're a NASA employee or a concave earther. If you come here and talk absolute nonsense, it's going to get ripped apart. There is no prejudice here. So when people are like, oh, why is Nathan attacking flat earthers? I'm not. Because the whole notion of a flat earther, to me, is kind of ludicrous to begin with. I'll label myself of it so society understands my position without me having to explain it, but that's about as useful as it gets for me. Because the fact that the Earth, not me, not my position, not my politics, the Earth is obviously observably, measurably and navigatably flat, has no bearing on me as an individual. That's just how the world is. So I don't care if there's a group or categorised group of people who are out there and claiming to be the same as me. They're not. If they're talking nonsense about, I don't know, rotating suns or ice walls or ether or free energy or not being able to do anything with an angle. These people are idiots and they will have their bum smacked the same as anybody else that comes here. Globe belief or otherwise. Doesn't matter. There's no prejudice. Talk shit. Expect it to be pulled apart.
to be a killjoy, but this kind of thing can lead to people thinking, well, I don't need to get vaccinated, you know.
Oh, right. You're telling me that Flat Earth leads people to decide not to get vaccinations? Where the hell did that come from? That sounds very much like something that would be written down on a memo as an afterthought to be put in this video precisely 1 year ago. I mean, what was going on a year ago? Was it COVID? Seems a strange connection that are NASA astronomers mentioning that you should be getting your COVID jibby jab. I mean, I'm just saying, it's not like that's somehow been propagandized into the information that you're disseminating about how Earth isn't flat. Obviously, there's a direct connection to vaccinations there, isn't there?
Well, getting
And
vaccinated
she
was-
wouldn't be saying it now because that wouldn't be part of the memo now.
It wouldn't be part of the current rhetoric, that's right. It's not of high priority at the moment. It wasn't on the memo if she was doing this today. Yeah. But she's, like I say, too stupid to realise that she is that shill, not the made-up government official straw man. You, love, you and your paycheck. You and your dumb blonde nature that's been taken advantage of by people much smarter than you when they literally just tell you what to do and you do it.
save lives. It could be your
That's
own
the
life.
one
I
that,
wanna-
I find that quite enlightening, isn't it? She's made a bit like the ballers do. She makes the claim that who would be enough to do these things. You point out she's paid, but with that one comment, at what point did that have any relevancy? You know, that's going into health advice, something that, do you know what I mean? Yet she's now empowered to make that comment. Any rational person, after they've said, I'm not shilling for the government, put simply, to then make a comment so far out of the field, which is to cast an aspersion at people that aren't compliant with government new think. You really are a bit of a bimbo, love. I didn't like you using that word, but that is a really dumb thing to present.
Just for the benefit of this astronomer, Adam, can you just, in case she gets shared this video, can you tell her what you do, please?
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist. So
dealing with vaccinations, right?
But I refuse to, but yes, previously I have, yeah.
Right. So you've got a horse in this race, then you've got an opinion to have on it. Would you ever, if you were at a convention on this topic, hypothetically speaking, would you in any way value the opinion of this bimbo if she was there talking on the subject and connecting anti-flat earthism with strawman models to anti-vaxxers, which I am definitely not associated with? Would you pay any credence as a man of medicine to what this woman said just now?
No, I think if she was in that room, I think most of the clinicians would be very dubious about anybody that's inciting some kind of intellectual inferiority on somebody on their own clinical choice.
I mean, this is borderline a breach of the YouTube terms of service, if you ask me.
Yeah.
This is an astronomer casting aspersions in terms of people's decisions about medicine. Why hasn't this been banned from YouTube? This skirts the lines of being outside of the terms of service, as far as I can tell.
So it struck me.
Well, to me, it means, to me, it was, I think it was like a something they felt they needed to add in there. They were trying to point out where flat earthers were wrong, right, by creating strawman arguments that flat earthers don't make. Certainly no real flat earthers would make that, or seasoned flat earthers would make those claims. And I think the idea of throwing in the little thing about flat earthers being against vaccines was to kind of say, well, kind of offhand, well, if they're wrong about these things, they're likely wrong about the vaccines as well, this kind of thing. And like the anti-vaxxers there was vaccination people everywhere in the world, and there has been since the start of COVID, and they weren't all flat earthers, but they were all proven right.
Well, she's tarring us with a brush that I don't like being tarred. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I've not done any shows on that. That's not what I do. That is not the topic we cover. Specifically us, we exclusively cover flat Earth. Now, we might go off on a mild tangent in the warm-up show, pre-show, whatever, and occasionally we go off on a bit of a tangent in the after show. But generally speaking, 99% of the time, we are talking about that subject. We're not anti-vaxxers here. We've not got some axe to grind in that regard. But didn't she do it earlier on in the clip as well? Didn't she try and tar us with some other group that wasn't us? I can't remember what it was now. I wish I was a bit more frosty today. I'm sure she did it right at the beginning of the clip when we were covering it in the pre-show. She tried to lump us with a different group that, again, I was like, no, we don't claim that. That's not our assertion. I can't remember what it was now. Maybe someone will put it in the comment section after the fact and timestamp it and go, yeah, she bundled us in with flat earthers, that is, in with this group, politically prejudicing them for whatever reason. And now she's doing it with anti-vaxxers. So what the hell next?
Nathan, the rules do not apply to them. The rules only apply to us.
Certainly seems that way.
I want to be really clear that I have no objection to alternative theories. Theory, again, is something that's been tested.
Alternative theory being something that's tested. Is the next two words out of her mouth going to be by experiment?
Tested and tested and tested.
No. The testing is the experiment. The theory is what you develop after one or multiple of experiments. So it's natural phenomena, hypothesis construction, actualization of hypothesis, aka experimentation, then theory. Now she's flipping between a colloquial use of a downplayed, it's just their colloquial theory, aka their vague idea about what the world might be. And I've got no problem with people having vague ideas of what the world could be. But she's also using theory when she objected to people theorizing, because that word's special. Yes, special for you as a bloody magician, because you don't have any theories to back the shit that you punt. None. It's a bloody outrage. But here she is again saying, I don't mind people having these flat earth theories. You don't know what the words are. It's words, you don't know what it means, love. Contextualised within science, theory comes after experiment. You wouldn't know that. You're that useful idiot being paid, aren't you, love? The one that you thought would be a government official while you grin? No, you're here to be that smiling bimbo face that tells the world that you represent the consensus because you had a memo from someone paying you.
That's how we make progress, is by challenging.
But with scientific validation, progress that you make is just so stories backed up with the illusion of science. By saying theory and testing, contextually experimentation, something you don't have. You've never done an experiment in your life. You've never formulated a theory. You certainly haven't got a viable hypothesis. We ask for that daily too. You wouldn't know a hypothesis if it slapped you in the face. But you're more than welcome to use these words after getting memos about what you will and won't be disseminating via the propaganda today from your paid government-affiliated agency.
Challenging conventional ideas with new ideas, and then
that's not what testing results in. Empiricism, if you're following the scientific method. That's not what you're doing though, eh, love?
And looking for which is the stronger idea.
No. If you've done testing, you've got validated experimental data. That's violated if you're making up little stories rather than going with the empirical outcome of a test. But you don't have any empirical tests. When you say testing, testing, testing to get the best generalised story that I can spin, no, tests give you empirical outcomes. The way it gives you an empirical outcome, just to educate your dumbass, is to have a hypothesis in place before you test. You know, you said testing, testing, testing? Yeah, that would be if A, then B. A being your supposition of cause, B being the natural phenomena you're trying to induce. You're trying to figure out the cause of an effect. So if A, my presumed cause, then B, and if A, my presumed cause, not B, is a full, null, and alternative hypothesis. And when you vary A, either it will validate the alternative hypothesis, or when you vary A, it will validate the null. So it's going to validate one or the other of them. That's why the scientific method offers empiricism. Something you wouldn't have the slightest idea about when you talk about getting the best idea about what you can bullshit about. Science offers empiricism, love. You wouldn't have the slightest clue.
You know, we're at a kind of rough time historically where it's never been truer that anybody can say anything and everybody's got a platform.
So, sorry, what is this defund the media? We aren't this either. This isn't me walking into some museum wearing horns and saying defund the media. This isn't me. Why is this in a Flat Earth Strawman video? Why are you bundling me with all these other dickheads?
And so how do you discriminate between what's true and what's just some guy's idea or gal?
Well, your ideas that you've just told us very literally in the last sentence is your path to finding what the best idea about what your bullshit about is. Well, if you've got science, you've got empiricism behind your claims, love. That's how you do it. There you go. Didn't take long.
Idea, and at the same time, it's kind of stakes have never been higher for our...
Yeah, whatever. I'm going to round out the live show on this note. We'll continue this. We'll continue this. Go on. You can have the last word.
I would just say, just looking at those final few pictures of what's to show, what's stupid, what's a bad thing, what a bad ways of thinking. She highlights her political viewpoint very clearly in those pictures. So to me, the whole thing does look like a very well constructed, paid NASA democratic attack. And I think maybe the group they were talking about earlier, Nathan, could have been Christian Republicans, because that seems to be how she finished her attack.
It's just, in this instance, when you say, oh, she didn't put up those images, it wasn't having to pay off government officials to spin this narrative about a different group that isn't flat earthers into your rhetoric, love. It took an editor, the guy who made this video at BuzzFeed, and that person will have been paid also. Yeah, you see how all of this money is being poured into this end result of you poisoning the well, burning straw men, and propping up certain government-based narratives. You notice that? Yeah? That hasn't occurred to you, you know? No, but it wouldn't possibly be the case that we'd have government officials paid off. Absurd. Right, let's round out this show and ask if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!